Welcome to Blogs and Articles. In this series, we look at blog posts, articles online, and news stories about love, marriage, dating, and relationships. I'll provide some coaching questions for exploration, as I would for a client who is in this situation. Then finally, I'll provide my commentary at the end of just me being myself, unfiltered and unadulterated. Hi, I'm Janelle, the relationship coach behind The Successful Invisible. I help professional Black women who are 35 plus date and partner with more self awareness and intentionality. Check out the links in the description box below to sign up for my next 5-day self awareness and dating challenge. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All right, so came across this interesting article on UTango. UTango is far from the major research authority on love and relationships, but they do have interesting articles, and I wanted to bring you this one. How to tell a genuinely kind person from a manipulative love bomber. Two clear differences that help guide people toward healthy, supportive love. Let's jump into it. Love bombing is not a new concept. Article after article details how to recognize love bombing, what to do if you're being love bombed, and how dangerous an early show of deep affection can be. And it's good to be wary of love bombers. But has the love bombing fervor gone too far? Are we sabotaging ourselves out of relationships with great, authentic people because of that faint whisper of, they're too good to be true, they must be love bombing me, echoing in our ears? What is love bombing? So, love bombing refers to when a person you've just started dating begins showering you with attention, affection, and gifts. Nice, right? Not necessarily. All this over-the-top, complimenting, and laser-focused attention can be the result of someone trying to exert power over you. You fall for someone who says they can't imagine their life without you. Then they take advantage of your dependence on their affection. Suddenly, sweet texts become controlling ones, gifts come at a price, and you're left placating them and trying to get back the sweet and loving person you met. What should you do? Get the heck out of that relationship. At the first signs that someone who smothers you with love might be suffocating you, it's time to go. That means if this person suddenly starts getting easily jealous, asks you to spend less time with family and friends, to spend more time with them, wants to know your whereabouts at all times to the point of asking for your location and passwords, sends you angry texts and profusely apologizes afterwards, then you're dating a love bomber. It's so hard to leave because they are experts at making you feel special and cherished. But these behaviors are pathological and they'll only keep getting worse. Be strong, you've got this, move on. How to tell a genuinely nice guy or gal from someone love bombing. Okay, here's where I diverge from what's so popular to say in love bombing articles. Sometimes a person is that great. When I first met my partner nearly 7 years ago, he was attentive, romantic, generous, and vocally head over heels for me in a way that made me, kind of not believe him. I'd been with a narcissistic love bomber side of that before, and I wasn't about to make the same mistake twice. Boundaries versus pursuit. I noticed anytime I set a boundary, he respected it and didn't push back. Our communication was open, and I told him when I felt things were moving too fast. He texted all the time, but I wasn't a huge texter, and he never made me feel guilty about it. He truly exemplified and acted on his values. He didn't just talk a big game. Gifts were gifts and came with no obligation, and later I realized it's his love language, and he enjoys buying gifts for all the special people in his life. We collaborated on how we wanted to spend time together, and he never made me feel like it wasn't enough. When we had a conflict, we talked about it like adults and never used harsh words. I felt like we were an equal team. And I'm not alone. I've seen countless friends and clients enter relationships and wonder early on if it was too good to be true and if it was just that good. Ups and downs versus consistent kindness. In the words of Catherine, another coach over at Style My Profile, when I first met my partner, he did everything right that everyone else had done wrong. He openly told me how much he liked me. He never waited to text back. He was always keen to spend any amount of time with me. He talked about wanting to move our relationship forward. I was used to people I dated playing games and making me feel like the needier one. So I was naturally skeptical or of someone who didn't fit that mold. Why did he like me so much so quickly? I couldn't possibly deserve that. What did he have up his sleeve? Was it all an act? Was he love bombing me? At every turn, he made sure he was checking in with me about how I was feeling. When I needed to when I needed to put on the brakes or have a little space, he understood and would immediately adjust his actions. He'd say beautiful and flattering things about me, but they weren't hyperbolic. He'd text all the time, but if I didn't respond for a while, he didn't get jealous or overprotective. He knew I was out living my life, and he loved that about me. Most importantly, he has been consistent through and through. With a love bomber, you get hots and colds. With someone who likes you and isn't afraid to show it, you get support that hasn't wavered for a moment in the 2 years we've been together. So look out and don't be afraid to lean in. The bottom line, it's not always simple, but it's worth watching for the signs someone is genuinely kind in a way you aren't used to. So, if you start dating someone and they act smitten in all the ways we've described, how do you know if they're genuine or a love bomber? It can be a bit of a fine line at the beginning. My advice, don't psych yourself out of something that may be amazing, but always keep the logical part of your brain at hand, ready to point out any early warning signs, behavioral swings, possessiveness, overpromising, etc. When those arise, you run for the hills. If they don't, congratulations, you've found the one. Moving on to some questions for reflection. These are some coaching questions that I would pose to a client in a similar situation to the article that I just read. Grab a fresh pen and notebook and answer these coaching questions truthfully and fully in order to go deeper on your own personal journey to greater self-awareness when it comes to dating and relationships. Question 1. How can one differentiate between genuine kindness and manipulative behavior in a new relationship? Question 2. What are the signs that a relationship is moving at a healthy pace, respecting personal boundaries? Question 3. In what ways should effective communication be established to ensure it's not overbearing or underwhelming? Question 4. How can understanding a partner's love language help in distinguishing between sincere affection and love bombing? Question 5. What strategies can be employed to maintain a balance between emotional investment and cautious optimism in the early stages of dating? Let's jump into one of my favorite parts of the videos for my blogs and article series, and that's where I just offer you my thoughts on the article or blog post that I just read. Reading this article, the thing that came up, or the two things that stood out the most to me, are key characteristics of a person that they demonstrate where you can more easily tell. It's not a 100% guarantee, nothing in life is, but that you can more easily tell if someone is genuine in their affections for you. And that is boundaries, meaning you state a boundary and the person respects it. And then consistency. This person is consistently showing up and pursuing you in a healthy way and showing interest. They are also consistent on being about their word. They are also setting boundaries with you as well. It's a two-way street, and these are healthy boundaries. And all of this, the consistency and the respect for boundaries from both perspectives, but in this case, speaking of, the person pursuing you, there's communication going on. There is an energy that exists between you two that shows that they're sincere. They're going to continue to do what they say they're going to do. They're going to respect who you say you are and what you want and what you don't want, what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, etc. And this speaks to overall maturity on the part of the pursuer. This also speaks to someone who is looking for something more than likely longer term. Now, the reason I say that nothing is 100% because there are platinum level, diamond level narcissists out there who play the long game. And those people have deep-rooted issues because they are playing a long game and will string you along and become and do, there'll be a wolf in sheep's clothing. They will demonstrate these things, but at the end of the day, they're plotting on your demise the whole time. I would say you do not run into those types of people as often, because most love bombers and gaslighters and people with narcissistic tendencies are more than likely, they're trying to come in heavy and hot and quick. They don't have the patience of time to really work their manipulation. And if you're not falling for their ploys early on, they'll most likely ghost you and leave you alone. So you can easily block their number and move on with your life. However, there are a few that you will discover that are doing more, that are playing a long game. In those instances, what I highly suggest that any woman does is you need third-party independent verification about somebody's character. And I feel this when you get serious about anyone. My corporate background, how the world I grew up in, is I'm a corporate auditor. So getting independent information on my own, aside from what was told to us by a business, that's my thing. So in this instance, how do I apply it to dating life? Background checks, all 50 states and federal. It is very important in this day and age for your safety. This person is presenting a certain way, and all is well, etc. But it's very important for you to be able to have a uninvested, independent third party that you can verify the things that they're saying. Now, I'm not going to say every single thing is going to show up on a background check. And in fact, a lot of things may not, especially if it's abuse related and it depends on somebody having reported in the past. But I do feel you'll get a greater sense to see if their words that they're expressing to you line up with the character that is presented by the uninvested independent third party, i.e. the background checks. So my message is, I really like this article. I think it gives women very good things to look out for, but I go back to get background checks. To get really good background checks on people, like I said, all 50 states and federal, you can Google them. There are reputable websites out there, and it may not be cheap. They cost, last time I did one, it cost about $150 to $200. And it was worth it because it gave me an independent view of this man's character that I was dating at the time. And I was able to line it up against what he was telling me. So, in these days and times, it's important for you to protect yourself as much as possible. And utilizing information, that's factual information that's available about a person, is one way that you can really feed into your decision-making process about whether to pursue a love interest or not, or allow them to pursue you. So those are just my thoughts. Thank you for joining me today for this episode of Blogs and Articles. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Check out the links in the description box below to sign up for my next 5-day self-awareness and dating challenge. Also, check out my podcast, The Successful Invisible. Next season publishing soon on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Until next time, this is your coach, Jay Nell. Stay empowered and see you on the next article or blog post.